As governor, I will not rest until Medicare for all is law. No, we need truly strong leadership in these times. It is not enough for Larry Hogan to symbolically oppose Donald Trump. Standing up to Trump means standing up not just to his most outrageous words and actions, but standing up to his all too frequently outrageous policies and the agents who implement them. Larry Hogan, you aided and abetted Donald Trump when you invited Education Secretary Betsy DeVos into our state while expanding vouchers and not fully funding our public schools. You aided and abetted Trump when you were silent as he appointed Scott Pruitt, who before he was secretary, before he was administrator of the EPA, made it clear he would destroy the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Plan. And Mr. Hogan, Larry, you have aided and abetted Trump when you stood shoulder to shoulder with Attorney General Sessions and parroted his call to return to the failed war on drugs, to create new mandatory minimum sentences, and have allowed him repeatedly to send ICE agents into our state to tear immigrant parents away from their children. No, we need a governor who knows how to lead, not someone who thinks that the test of leadership is a poll or a popularity contest. Some will question whether I have the experience to lead as governor because I'm not a career politician. Well, I've managed complex organizations as a CEO or been a partner in a business since I was 26 years old. And you know, I think experience is a great thing, but experience don't mean a lot if you can't bring people together to get big things done. I know how to lead, and more importantly, I know where we need to be going as a state. We can't settle for Larry Hogan's low expectations anymore. Tolls and puppies. He is a gimmick governor. It's time for us to realize the promise of Maryland. I've been tested in my capacity for leadership. I became the youngest president and CEO in the history of the NAACP. And led it to greatness all through the depths of the recession. At the end of my tenure, the headline on the front page, above the fold of the Chronicle of Philanthropy, simply read, "Jealous leaves the NAACP a far stronger place." And when I finish my 8 years as governor, I expect the same headlines on the front page of the Baltimore Sun and the Washington Post. You know, 25 years ago, when Stacey Abrams and I were young organizers in Mississippi. Maybe you didn't catch that. When Stacey Abrams and I were young organizers in Mississippi. A governor down there tried to shut down a public, historically black college and turn it into a prison. We stood up to Governor Fordyce, and we won by confronting him and his policies the same way that we must all confront Donald Trump. By opposing him in the public square, not just in the shadows, Larry Hogan. Our goal is not just to win an election, but to build a movement which will allow us to lead into law the new agenda that the state so desperately needs. And to achieve that kind of victory, I have no better partner than my running mate, former chair of the Maryland Democratic Party, Susie Turnbull. Party. Susie spearheaded an unprecedented organizing effort to elect Democrats up and down the ballot in 2010. There was a moment Susie said, back in 2010 we had 7 offices across the state. And then she said, no, we had 7 offices on the Eastern Shore. Well, the Democratic vote that year went down in so many states and the Tea Party rose up. We held them back here in Maryland because Susie and her organizers made sure that the vote went up amongst Democrats in Maryland in 2010. Susie doesn't just know how to ride a wave. She knows how to build a wave election, and that is exactly what we're going to do this year. One of the greatest experiences in this campaign for me has been listening to the people of this state. As I travel the state, I've listened to young people. I was back in the housing project in West Baltimore where my mom spent half her childhood. I said to a little boy, about the same age she was when she left, 7 or 8 years old, "What do you want the next governor to know?" He said, "I've seen too many dead men." I was out on the Eastern Shore, the backyard of a upper middle class family. A little girl about the age of my daughter Morgan walked up, blonde ponytail, tennis racket in her hand. Said, "What do you want the next governor to know?" She said, "I buried 3 classmates to the opioid epidemic." I've sat with families, hardworking immigrants in our state. "What do you want the next governor to know?" "My children wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning every night in a cold sweat to check if mommy and daddy are still here." Larry Hogan letting ICE come into our state, distracting our police, terrorizing our communities. Don't just talk about separation of families down on the border, Mr. Hogan. You're doing it right here. I've sat with worker after worker after worker and said, "What do you want the next governor to know?" I got to work 2 jobs. I got to work 3 jobs because I decided it was more important to feed my kids and keep a roof over their head than be home with them every night. This campaign is about seizing the moment to build a movement to make sure that everyone in Maryland moves forward. No matter what happens in Donald Trump's Washington. Before I close, I want to recognize some important people. And I'd appreciate it if we would ask the chair of our party, Kathleen Matthews, to come here with me. Come on, Kathleen. And our great mayor's already here. And let's hear it again for Congressman Cummings. Let me start by recognizing the candidates who ran with me. Rashern Baker. I admire Rashern for his service to our military, for his lifelong commitment to public service, his leadership, and his inspiring love and devotion to his wife, also a great warrior for social justice, Krista. Maya Rich Madaleno for being a pioneer in the quest for equality in our state. Maya Valerie Irvin for her commitment to service and to working people. I admire Alec Ross for his courageous insight into the new economy. And Jim Shea for his dedication to Baltimore and our state. The Congressman's great wife, Maya Rockymore Cummings, for her service and her commitment to building an inclusive economy for all of us. And to Krish Vignaraja for showing everyone the achievement that a woman who came here as a little girl and a refugee from Sri Lanka can attain in an America that welcomes immigrant children and does not put them in cages. And And I want to recognize one more candidate that many of us are carrying in our hearts tonight. County Executive Kevin Kamenetz. He was a devoted husband, a great father, a great leader. His commitment to the people of Baltimore County and Maryland was awesome. Our prayers continue to be with his wife Jill and their 2 sons. As I've said before, I miss his wit, I miss his wisdom, and I will never forget him. I also want to say thank you to all of you who have contributed so much to this movement. Y'all got to recognize, you might have forgotten, but we started off in 4th and we ended up in 1st. Please join me in thanking our campaign staff, Travis, Megan, Kevin, Rich, Erica, Sydney, Tara, April, Brian, Julia, Lisa, Keanu, Caitlin, Damon, Tristan, Jerusalem, and Marjorie. They worked tirelessly for 400 days to achieve this victory. Thank you to all of those who are responsible for us having more individual contributions, a lower average donation than any other campaign, and more donors than all of them put together. Thank you to the enthusiastic volunteers who knock doors. Some of you 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, who powered us and our cause to victory in this primary, and who will help us do it again for November. Thanks to the dozens of organizations and unions and individual leaders who together forged a winning team in this campaign. Please join me in thanking my parents, Fred and Angelus, for everything they've done for me, inspired me, and inspired this campaign. Thank my business partners at Cape Port Capital for their help. And the most special thanks of all goes to my 2 great kids, Morgan and Jack. I think Jack's playing baseball somewhere right now. I love you guys more than anything in the world. Thank you to all of you for your help. I ask for your help. The victory we achieve in this general election will be the beginning of a movement to realize the promise of Maryland. Abraham Lincoln told us a century and a half ago, the most reliable way to predict the future is to create it. And that's our challenge today. We can together create a future where we pursue the promise of Maryland and achieve it for all of our children together.